Welcome to AudioTechnology Magazine's ISO Booth podcast, where we phone audio engineers and producers at home. And thanks to the pandemic lockdown, they answer. Hey everyone, it's Chris here from AudioTechnology Magazine, and I have a special ISO Booth conversation for you today with Mr. Ben Osmo, location sound engineer extraordinaire. I just said to Ben I had to give you a formal introduction, Ben, so I just quickly checked your Wikipedia page, and you can tell me how much of this is correct. Okay. You are an Academy Award winner. Tick. 3 actor awards.
I think it might be more than that, but I can't remember.
Okay, you'll have to go and update your Wikipedia page.
Yep.
Honorary Australian Centenary Medal for 2001.
Yep.
So you first came, but you became a household name in movie circles when you did location sound for Dead Calm. Would you say that was kind of your first big film? Yeah,
I think so. I think that's 1987 that was, and that it was a very memorable experience actually. 5 months.
Hey, you must have been quite a young man at that point.
Yes, I was about 4.
We definitely need to correct your Wikipedia page.
No, I'd already done 10 years at the ABC. I think I started work end of 1970, after leaving school. In a production house in George Patterson Advertising, then went to a production house, and then in 75 joined the ABC until 1985.
Sure.
And did a couple of films before Dead Calm, but that was a great experience, that one.
And you won your Oscar for your work on Mad Max Fury Road, which is comparatively recent.
Yeah, we started filming that in 2012 and continued filming 2013 for a few weeks in Sydney. And then by the time it got mixed and, edited first, obviously, and then sound designed and mixed, I think in 2015 it was released. And so the Oscars were for 2016.
That's quite a list of citations. You're one of the best known location sound engineers here we've got, and I'm very honoured to have you as an interviewee, and I'm really stoked to experience, I guess, what you've got in store for us, because this is no ordinary interview. You tell me where you're at and I guess sort of the nature of the tour that we're going to have.
Well, this is at my lockup here, and I've got Jack Swart here on camera. I actually rang him up and says, "How do you use an iPhone as a second camera?" And he said, "Oh, look, I've got this new camera that I want tested, and why don't we do it?" And I said, "Okay," but he said it'll cost you lunch, so it's on the airwaves now, so I'm duty bound. Anyway, and I've got Mike Zukowski here helping me, and Mike and I are going to start a film with the main boom operator Sue Kerr in a couple of weeks' time. And then straight after that, I'm going on with Sue on another George Miller film. So it's going to be a busy few months coming up.
Wow, sure.
So I'm actually prepping here. So I'm sort of doubling up with chatting with you rather than just the normal sitting in my sunroom doing Zoom like we've all been doing during COVID-19 times.
Yeah,
so welcome to my little world here. So I've been prepping, and I thought I'd show you, basically this is my sound cart here where we go on set, and usually on photos of behind the scenes kind of things, the sound mixers never really get a chance to
fully
be seen, because we're always hiding, you know. So the boom operator's the ones that get all the glory. Anyway, so this is my basic setup that I've had for a few years, and it's done me well. A lot of people have got more upgraded equipment, but the last guy that won the Oscar actually had one of these desks, which is a Sonosax. I've had this maybe 15 years as well, and it's a beauty. It's made in Switzerland, and the preamps on it are just really gorgeous. The recorder I've got has been updated by maybe 2 generations now, but I still love this one. I've got 3 of them. This one I'm using as the main recorder. It's a Sound Advisor 788. It's got 8 inputs, quite a few outputs and auxiliary sends, but most of the auxiliaries I send via the desk. And that's the second one, and this one's the earlier generation, which is a 4-input 6 recorder 744. And when I'm combining the 2 recorders, I can submix into this little recorder if the editor just wants one left-right mix down. And
can I ask you about the desk?
Yeah, sure.
So I guess what facilities are important for a desk in your position?
For this application is that I've got, it's 10 input, 8 output. So then I can pre-fader or post-fader, sorry, in this instance I'm post-fadering into here, into the recorder, 8 individual outputs. So I've got 8 channels here. Then it's got a little interface here which I can then do the submixes via here. There is a CL9 and other CL12s and 16s that have come out since then, which are linear kind of interfaces, and they can, they work really well. But I like this combination of a nice analog desk, the beautiful preamps, and it's got, like I said, I can individually, on this strip here, for example, this one, 2, which is Michael is on it. Can you say something, Michael?
Test 1, 2.
Yeah, here we go. I'll fade him up.
1, 1, 2, 2.
So, in fact, that was being pre-recorded. Test 1, 2 was pre-recorded on the ISO track, but then I chose to mix it down, and I can fade it down now. So this is my mic, and I've got it on output 3 rather, and it goes all the way like that. But the beauty of this desk, it's got this panel here is for private lines. I can talk to, when I'm using the proper headphones, I can talk to my boom operators on 2 different channels here. They can listen to whatever they like. And I've also got 8 returns down here. I don't know if you can see that, Jack. So I can, for example, these 3 recorders, I can hear individually what those are doing. Sometimes I might have 2 or 3 walkie-talkies that the director's assistant and stunt people or even my crew might have, and I'll input the walkies just on the return line. The other thing I'm doing here is via Focusrite, I'm sending all the mix down, the left-right mix down into the Focusrite there, which is going into the laptop, and but then I return the headphone output into these 2 channels and bypass the recorder, and that way I can have got a auxiliary output happening here where you can see me talking on that auxiliary output, and that's feeding to up there, right up the top there, Electrosonics T4 transmitter, which we're all listening to. So then I can hear your voice, I can hear anything that's coming on the desk, like the boom operators do. Because when they're on set, they've got these little receivers here. And I decided to take the director's one.
So your stupid question, but Ben, on set you are in charge of marshalling and routing all audio, not just sort of the stage or the sync or the production or the location sound. You are in charge of all the audio, making sure it gets to the right ears.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I am for all the cast that would be there. That we're recording with the booms. I can talk on private lines to the boom operators. I can put a slate mic up here. Let me demonstrate that for you. Whoa, there we go. That's going on a... I'll just turn the aux. I can't do that. That's going on a PA speaker, but then theoretically I can talk that into idents for things, or actually talk directly to the director. And then so then I record all the tracks here and the sound effects and label them. You can see them coming up through here. I could track enable. I can't track enable while I'm rolling, but I can see I've labelled this the file name, and then it shows when I'm doing the next one. It shows that I'm only using the A mix left and right, the bend mic. Jamie's wrong, which was for another thing, and that's the boom here. But I'll go into that in a minute. But so basically
with the mixer, the mixer. Sorry to talk over you. Like eight outputs. Like, can you describe a kind of a typical, if you could say typical situation, like how your desk might get filled up?
Yes. Well, for example, we might have 6 cast and 2 booms, and that fills it up. So each cast will have a radio mic, and I've got one here, which is for our purposes. That's a little transmitter here, and we could go to the case here if Jack is still okay to do that. And I've got 12 transmitters on one block, and I've got another 6 on this block, plus I've got a small little electrosonics, new ones that are really tiny transmitters. So they all go on the actors, or we might have hidden mics, under a table or whatever, whatever the action is. Or if it's stunts, we put other mics on stands for stunts, crashes, and all that kind of thing. So then I mix those down, and then I do a mono mix for the video split. The video split then has a return to me, and I transmit with one of these transmitters that goes on to this frequency, which goes to the director. So then the director can watch the take that's been played back with audio. So either I send sound to the video split or directly to the camera, but I prefer I've got a loom that just goes send and return to the video split, and then I've got 2 video cables that come back to me. So when the director is hearing, I'm actually mixing live what he's hearing, even though we might have 16 microphones like we did on Alien Covenant. We had 16 cast and 2 booms, so that was the busy time. And
how does that work, Ben? Like, if you don't have that number of inputs on your desk, like how do you wrangle that?
I'll show you, but we might have to have a quick break because Jack's doing. You okay?
Just sing out, Jack. I don't want to.
So I've got 8 coming into here, and then I can these inputs here directly from the radio mics. So then I directly...
and then you sub-mix out of there.
Yeah. So then I can control those. And so the mix out of this and the mix out of that can go into this recorder. Now, there are recorders now that have got, 32 inputs and that kind of thing that you can run with a digital desk. I'm quite happy using this, and that we could talk about Dante and all that kind of stuff, but I don't use that. I know quite a few people that have just started using it, and they're really happy with using that. But I'm really loving these recorders still, even though I've had them since 2011 or something like that. And I have had the internal drives changed once or twice since I've got them, but and they're always maintained, so they're a beautiful machine.
It records to solid state, obviously, does it?
Yeah. And so I used these on Fury Road, and we're in the back of a van that was off-road basically all the time. So they never skipped a beat. They were fantastic.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the other thing we've got is here we go. We've got like the Voice of God, which is the first AD or the director. That's kind of my department too, where they say, we really need to talk to all the extras, or if there's a stunt happening. So I can talk through a speaker over here, and I'm just transmitting to that one over there.
Yep.
And depending on how loud I have it, or EQ or whatever. So
all chariots start stampeding on my command.
That's correct. Yeah. So on some films, the director would like to do that, and also the first AD, because the director may want to direct the cast, and the first AD the extras for stunts or crowd control or anything like that. The other thing that we do is in-ears, a lot of in-ears. So we've got quite a few frequencies of these over here, which are again Electrosonics IFB. These ones are that I've got assigned for the boom operator crew, the sound assistants, and there's all sorts of different frequencies. And the ones that I've got on the speaker is another one again. And so I run about 4 different ones on the cart here. So it gives me the option of either private line or director or sending to a speaker, anything that comes up. But the other thing is a beautiful little product here that we've been using for quite a few years, but it's been refined a lot. It's called the Phonak Roger. And if you follow me, I'll go into the van and see. I'll come around this way, Jack. Excuse the mess, but I'll just grab this out of here. I could say this is one I prepared earlier, but
I was going to say, excuse the mess. I've never seen such a well-organised van.
Okay, so everything seems to be in Pelican cases for us travelling. So this is the transmitter for the new version of the Phonak, which is the in-ear system. And I'll pull one of these out.
Okay, so just back up a bit. So just describe to me what the Phonak system is.
It's an in-ear system. Mm-hmm. So that way, for example, if we're doing a telephone conversation with an actor, and it can be a heated conversation. Got that, Jack?
Yep. Get it nice close to the lens because I can see it.
All right. That's it. There we go. Roger E. Priest. There we go. So that we then give it to the actor, And then I can put, and just got like a tiny little battery that you put in there. Right. Then the idea is that the actor has got that in the earpiece. I've got, instead of having traditionally where we have another person saying off-screen lines to the actor, to avoid overlap and to have the quality and the ability to EQ the off-screen line to make it sound like it's a telephone, all that kind of stuff, and doesn't sound like it's in the same place. And also for performance, we try and get the off-screen line down the other side of the studio, or maybe in another room if we're on a location, and they can hear with their headphones with the IFBs that I showed you before, and the actor that's on set has got this little earpiece, and so they can both communicate like that. Now, if you've ever seen yourself talking on the phone, you're never really kind of looking at any direction at all. But if there's somebody off set, it's kind of that's on set here. You don't have quite the same performance that you would. So I think it works really well. Anyway, I've been doing that for years.
What other purposes does?
For example, I was just about to say there was a film that Nick Nolte was in that I did in the States in '91 called Lorenzo's Oil, and there was a sequence with Jack. Do you want to come and sit down? Are you right? Yeah. So there was a sequence where there's a little boy that's having a trauma and screaming and is extremely agitated. Now, the director didn't want to have him actually screaming because the take was going to take a few takes, and we didn't know what the performance was like, and even the screaming was going to interrupt the dialogue that was happening between Nick Nolte and Susan Sarandon. And so he organised an actress to do a lot of screaming and recorded it, and then I had it and played it back on Pro Tools via the little earpiece, which was a Phonak, but it was the earlier generation. And so he was motivated. The scene starts where we're looking at the front door and he comes bursting through. Now he's hearing this from before he's outside the door, and so he can actually get motivated by hearing the screaming. And the little boy had you can come and sit down here, mate. You got it? There you go. So the boy was asked to just open his mouth and go like that. I mean, acting a lot better than I do. And then that was the good motivation for Nick Nolte to do that. And as a side note, he ended up buying that system, not that particular one, but another one, because it's really good for cueing as well. And quite a few actors like to have that. On Fury Road, Thomas Hardy, for another reason, wanted a little hidden earpiece, and we had a little, what do they call, iPod Nano, and his assistant programmed a lot of music, comedy things, so he could, then we put a transmitter in his jacket with that little Nano, and he had a hidden earpiece. And so that was the motivation for that, was that he's distracted all the time. So even other people are talking to him, he's actually listening to the Goons or Monty Python or something like that.
Okay.
Now these are the venue racks. It's got 6 receivers in each rack. Again, Electrosonics, and down below is the Meon Life, which is the power distribution. So it's a UPS. I can run the whole trolley for at least 4 hours with all the equipment on it. And the distribution is, where it says 13.7, it's around 12 volts via 4-pin XLR. So everything is DC, basically, that's running. So it keeps the thing quite sweet and clean.
Can you recall any instances where you've had to rely on the UPS?
Yes, well, generally, if I'm on set early and I want to set up and there's no power, I can switch that on and keep going for an hour or so before the generator comes and electrics and or we're out filming in a house or something like that, and we haven't got permission to go in the house yet, but I want to get myself ready. You know what I mean? So. Sure. These are all little ancillary things like the CL Wi-Fi. I've got a little transmitter. It's very hard. Oh, let me pull one out here, Jack. Here we go. Little CL Wi-Fi. It comes via a little cable from the back of the recorder, and it's obviously Wi-Fi. These days they're a little bit more susceptible to a lot of different Wi-Fi apparatus, so it makes it a little bit difficult. The other thing is that we haven't talked about is time code and locking everything in a time code. I use the ambient system, which is the same as the slate that we had before, that you could see the clap. And I've jammed all the recorders, except for this one. I haven't bothered to I can turn this one off actually. Both recorders are running at a time of day, and that helps me, changing. I haven't done this with you before, have I? No, I think I might have been showing Jack, etc. So I can label tracks, etc.
We did that.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, sorry, you did do that.
We did that. Okay, sorry.
Down the garden path.
Okay, so now the other thing is, this is another software from Electrosonics, which is called Wireless Designer, and you can see my microphone there. I can see the coordination of all the frequencies that I've got that I'm using, and I can also do a scan, but I don't need to do that now. But at least I can see the battery status, for example, of all the transmitters that I've got going, and I can see this on this one here. There's a little bit of interference that would be coming, but I'm not using it at the moment. So, and also I've labelled everything. For example, this is the Whizzycom. This is what's transmitting to you, to the camera rather. I've got 2 channels of that transmitting to the camera, and it shows the. It's quite a handy thing to have.
How crowded is the spectrum often? Like, how much time do you normally have to spend?
Well, fortunately, most of the stuff in Sydney I can get around, except for up at Palm Beach, which I got caught on the film called Palm Beach, where these things I had to replace with two other blocks because I got into trouble on day one. I should have researched it, but having never had that problem before, and then since then, that Home and Away film at Palm Beach, they said, oh yeah, we don't use block 24, we use block 21, and nowadays there's a lot of new equipment, transmission and reception that they're very wide band, so you can choose whatever frequencies you can go with. These ones are reasonably locked between, 5? Oh, actually, I'll show you. This is something that we made when we were on Fury Road. and we had to do the frequency allocation. And so this is block 24. These are my ones that are on my cart. These ones up to 6 I've got on my little bag system, and block 26 are the IFBs. So I try and keep away from certain frequencies. But yeah, they can all pretty well work in Sydney, and that's where I'll be doing both the films that I'm going to be doing.
And is it, part of the reason why people such as yourself use electrosonics as opposed to, for example, live sound, where people are using Sennheiser, is it because of that wide bandwidth, or what are the other reasons?
The other one is size of receivers of the Sennheisers. The really good ones are 3 rack unit kind of deal, and it takes a lot of space and weight. It's all right if you're in one place all the time, but we travel everywhere. The other one is cost. They're really expensive, but they're really fantastic. I'm not saying anything. Some people use Shure. There's a good system going around with those, and there's a couple of other systems that are around, like Zaxcom make radio mics that are American, that quite a few people use, but I'd say generally the general sound people that are running around the world at the moment would be using electrosonics. They're just robust, they work really well. However, I'll show you a new purchase here, which is this little baby here. Which is the Audio Developments. This little one here, Audio Developments A10, which is a full digital setup, and I've got this with the Sheps CMC6, and the capsules are MK41, which is, let me just get that out, show you, and it's you can unscrew it and put a different capsule on it.
Just leave it off for a sec.
Leave it off. There we go.
Okay.
How's
so
that?
Is Audio Developments the same as what was called Audio Limited, or are they?
Sorry, Audio Limited. My bad. Audio Developments is they make mixing consoles.
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
a different, and they're English as well, I believe. Yes. So I've got now I can fire that up, and that's actually coming into. Do you want to talk into that mic for me, please, Michael?
Yep.
Just come over here so you can look away from the sun.
Test 1.
Actually, yeah, I can fade mine. I can do a. We're getting a bit of phasing. Here we go. This is me here with a boom mic. Hello, how you doing? So this is now it's going directly via this little receiver here. It's a dual receiver, and it's got the option of either analog or digital output, and I've been experimenting with the digital output. So that, because this isn't a digital desk, it's gone straight into the recorder. And there's a little loom at the back of the recorder that you can switch. For example, I'll just show you here. If you want to have a look at the things, it's got digital, and you've got the option of having digital or analog or line input mic and powering and all that business. So that's it. So they make. They've just been bought out by Sound Devices that make all these, and they're integrating into their systems. So I'll just bring my little DPA mic here back up. Oh, that's another thing we should talk about, if you've got a second.
I've got all the time in the world.
Good on you, mate. So I put this little baby back. And like Michael behind me, and we'll show him in a minute, has got one of the... Which ones have you got? I'll bring you up volume-wise. Here. There you go, Michael.
Which mixer?
You can talk.
How you doing?
Yep.
So I've got the 6 Series 633 10-channel recorder.
Yep.
Set up just in a bag behind Jack.
Okay. Well,
And
why
if
don't
I
we
have a
bring
look
it
at that.
over here? So,
Yeah.
just come and grab it. And I'll show them the mics in a second.
So this is just a bit more of a run and gun sort of setup for E&G style shoots. The potential to still run quite a few tracks. I'll just power it up. So I've got 4 receivers here, 2 SRBs, which are dual channel, and just 2 411s as well. So they're able to max out this this mixer recorder here. So I'm able to run a wireless boom and say 5 talent radio mics, and that records all 6 channels ISO, and then you've got your left-right mix as well as 2 auxiliaries that you can record as well. And I've just patched the receivers into a little RF distro here, a little company called BSRF from France. They're quite good, and I just run them through these electrosonic dipoles just passively, and that just gives me a bit more range and reach for environments where you can't really be in the same room as the talent. It just gives you a bit more RF strength. But yeah, for like most run and gun E&G style shoots, it's not bad. It's a bit heavier because I'm running 2 MP1 batteries in here, but usually I have it on a chair or something and try and save my back when I can.
Yeah, no, it seems like a powerful bag.
Yeah, for how small the mixer is, it can do quite a bit, and for the majority of shoots I do, the max I'm using is about 3 to 4 channels anyway, so I don't need that much more. But yeah.
Well, thanks for showing us that.
That's all right.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. So,
So what sort of investment would that be?
For the whole thing, or?
Yeah, I guess how much does it take to get into the game?
Yeah, well, I started buying secondhand, which I would recommend considering they are quite robust devices. But it really depends how seriously you want to take it. But like the mixer, for example, I think that still retails for around 7K or something like that. And then you work your way up to receivers. When I started, I was running the old 4 USCR 411s, and it just becomes an issue if you want lightweight versus, if you're running a bag, you sort of want the smallest compact system you can. But that's why I sort of invested in these dual channels receivers to ease up the weight of the bag. But yeah, they cost about 5,000 at the moment as well. So it does get pretty costly, but it really depends what sort of work you're doing. And a lot of the time when you're running E&G style shoots, it has to be right on the day. There's no real time to mess up anything, so you sort of need to be able to trust the gear that you're using, and that's why I sort of went with Electrosonics. But yeah, there's all other ways around it, and especially nowadays where there's so many other companies coming out with more prosumer level gear. There are other options out there, but it's really what you're comfortable using, I feel, is the most important part of it all. But yeah.
Thanks, man.
That's all right.
all right. If Jack can do this, I'm not killing you. I just wanted to show a couple of different radio mics, lapel mics that we use. So these are the DPA 4060 cores.
Close to the lens.
Yep.
Because I can focus very close.
Oh, wow.
Here we go.
Hang on. Get rid of all the gunk. Here we go. Yeah. So that's a DPA. And you can actually interchange this little lid here for it. This is set up for slightly accentuated highs, and there's, if I can just bring it down to this, and I've got a few of the other lids that are actually set up for flat, but because we hide all the mics these days, not these days, forever. Now with visual effects we may be able to cheat a few things out in shot. Anyway, these sound fantastic. This is the same brand here, DPA, Danish. I've been using these for a long time and I love them. But this is a newer version, it's called the Core, and they've changed the preamp on it, and it sounds fantastic. It's got so much more headroom. And on top of that, then they've swapped over to make the 600 series, which is a 6060, and that's the head. That's the size of it. So that's, maybe I should get the other one and
Your finger up for comparison.
Yeah, hang on. Sorry, 1 second. Here we go.
Where do you ideally place those labs?
I can show you. It's usually obviously under clothing, but for men it's usually around there, because we obviously try and hide where it's going to go, so it'll be underneath obviously. So there's all sorts of things that we use. Maybe we'll go, if you want to come around the table again. This is our radio accessories. So this is one of the things we use quite a lot. It's gauze tape, and it gives, you can actually see through it. I don't know if you can see that. Yep. So it's quite transparent. That's from the chemist, but we buy it in bulk. And we've got little tricks where we might put a little loop of blue tack around it for suspension and for not, rubbing up against clothing. And clothing is what we, let's see if we've got blue tack here. Clothing is what makes the rustle, obviously. So if I stick it on here, for example, imagine I've got a bit of blue tack around it to preserve it. You don't see it, right?
So you actually put the blue tack over it almost like a shield, like a...
Yeah, let me just find some for you and I'll do it. Usually we've got, here we go. Here's some. Do you want to just open up a little bit for me, please, mate?
Is that why you might choose a cap that gives you a little more high end?
Exactly, because it's going to go through clothing, and that you're always going to have a little bit that is going to slightly muffle it. You know what I mean? So, but these mics are pretty good. So then I can put this around like a little donut. Get some more tape. Now we've got other things to be able to hide the transmitters, for example. So yes. I'm going to put this. They're coming in.
No.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm in the way.
Yeah, just come out for a sec.
We've got a car, guys.
Okay. Okay, no worries. We've just got a car coming. Cheers.
Live TV, gotta love it.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a little demonstration, fade down my mic, and then I'll put this mic on. Okay, so this is this mic, and I'm just going to put it on now, and you'll hear all the rubbing. In fact, I get Michael to put it on, because I want you to hear all the rubbing and everything. So okay. There we go, and that's me. And I'll just fade myself up a little bit, because it's, you know, it's not as close as this, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, and they're really nice microphones. But we did a film that's going to be out a little bit later. Actually, what is it? I Am Woman has just been released. We worked on that. But there's another one. There's another Peter Rabbit that's coming out. And we did a sequence where the lead guy was boxing, and he had a real, just a singlet, and he's a really skinny guy. And his opponent had a T-shirt which was, you know, pretty tight kind of T-shirt. And we used the smaller ones because it had a smaller profile. Now Sue, who did the miking, didn't want to put any blue tack, because if the slightest amount of blue tack was going to show. So she just put a couple of layers of that gauze tape, the leucoplast, maybe 2 or 3, and made sure that it was not going to be touched by the thing. And we did the whole sequence where the guy was boxing and they were all talking and laughing and, you know, carrying on. And it worked really well.
Then I was just going to ask you about,
this way.
after you've just shown us how you conceal a lav mic on Talon.
Yeah.
How important is that location sound when it comes to dialogue? How much of it gets used in your experience?
It depends on the film. The last 2 films, last 3, 4 films, it's been 90% of location sound, and our mission is to try and get as much location sound as possible, because it retains the performance of the cast. You know, they might have an accent that they've been working on, you know, for months, and with a voice coach, and you know, and the emotion of each scene is you know, they've worked up to a certain stage to make it realistic, and to come back 6 months later and do ADR is very difficult. I mean, a lot of people can do it, and for I'll just fade down one of these mics here, and so if they have to come back and do it, it's doable, but not everybody can ADR really well. There's a lot of actors that are fantastic at it, and others aren't, and it makes it. You basically don't want to lose the willing suspension of disbelief on set. So the more realistic it is, the better. And if there's a slight flaw here and there with other noise that might come in and out, that's always repairable. And there's a lot of post-production software now and techniques that can fix location sound. For example, if there's a background noise that's
A leaf blower, for example.
Well, not a leaf blower. That's a little bit too much. And what we try and do with locations is, when we do our surveys, we see where we are and what we're up against. If it's a studio, where is there a generator that's going to be outside the door, or can it be around the corner a bit, or if it's a traffic location, is there a better location to find? But if it's an exterior and we have to see traffic, then you can't do anything about it. And that's where radio mics do come in quite a lot in those situations. They're a bonus to have, but the most beautiful sound you can get is with a boom mic.
Sure.
In my opinion, and that's why we work most of the time with 2 boom operators, and we try and get as much stuff on boom, but at the same time have on the isolated tracks the radio mics, in case, for example, if there's is Michael still here? Has he gone? Okay. We can do a little demonstration here, Michael, with your boom. I'll just bring that up.
Which one?
Okay, that one there, yeah, number 8. Okay, so I'll just do a little quick EQ here on it. So if you boom me, and I can put myself on the other channel here, and so okay. First of all, if I didn't have this radio mic, and have just got the boom. So the boom is, in my opinion, a more natural sound. However, you can't get much closer than this. So that's a given. But for example, the idea of having a radio mic is that if the shot is a bit wider, and just go up a foot or so, just go like where my hand is, sort of thing there. Yep. So I'll just bring the level up on him. So he's gone off mic a little bit, but that's the demonstration I want to do. Okay, this sounds fine, but then if I go to pick something up, and you can't get the mic in there. So I'll just give you a demo if I kept the mic on, and so I repeated the same thing, and I went down and picked it up. You can still hear me. So that's why we have the radio mics at the same time. Thanks, Michael. Now, you notice the amount of background noise too with Michael's mic. I mean, if it's pointing to the traffic now, if it comes back to me, and just go over the top if you can. Yep. There we go. So I'll just get rid of my radio mic, and that's Michael's microphone here. And even if you go more straight up and down and closer, so that's actually eliminated the traffic even more. And if I walk around here and talk to you this way, where you're facing away from the microphone, that all those kind of things do help. But as far as I'll go back to the boom. Thanks, Michael. So the radio mic obviously gets rid of a lot of the background noise, and in difficult situations, that's when it's really helpful to have it. But yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, it's important to try and get as much usable sound as we can on location. For example, on Fury Road, well, we had vehicles that were sometimes up to 120, 130 dB of noise within, I don't know, what was it, 20 metres or 30 metres? They were really, really loud. And so when we had actors in them, there was no way that we could get usable sound, but we tried to get, with the mics that we positioned, we tried to get as much dialogue, so intelligibility, so then the director could actually make a decision whether that the performance was what he wanted, and he knew that he was going to replace it later. But on dramas like, for example, the Sapphires or I Am Woman, that's just been released. Peter Rabbit was just before that. The film Palm Beach. All those were pretty well all 100% sync. And we even had live singing and all that kind of stuff on top of it. So
takes it up to another level of difficulty.
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah, so yeah.
How about your like when you're recording, not the talent, but you got your Sheps and Sankins out, and you're recording other kind of ambiences, or is that how much
effects?
How much of that is your department? How much do you normally have to leave to another department?
Well, we try and do as much as we can. Was that something? Sorry, I heard another noise. So we try and do as much as we can. For example, if on Fury Road, we were recording effects all the time, even during dialogue on another recorder entirely. So we had a whole bunch of travelling up and past sound effects and all that kind of thing. With a dialogue film such as what's an example? For example, Palm Beach. There was, I think, 11 cast, and so the priority was to get as much dialogue as we could. And if there was a sequence at a beach when we might have a second recorder going off and recording atmospheres, or in my lunch break I might have recorded some waves crashing. At the house, I'd get there early and record, a bit of bird sound, atmosphere inside the house. The most crucial thing for us to do on location is to record dialogue. Secondly is to make sure it's seamless and have continuity of the dialogue, so try and keep the same microphones, same perspective to a reasonable amount. And then recording fill tracks or room tone, that is called atmosphere tracks. It's all the same thing. What a fill track is the dialogue in between speaking. So when I've got a second in between somebody saying something, that's the background sound. Now if the leaf blower in the background is not that loud, but if I fade it out totally, you totally lose what the sound is. So that's why, exactly, so you get gaps and you don't hear it. I mean, for example, I could have recorded on another mic on a sequence like this. I might have another ambience mic somewhere where it's distantly recording the traffic and the leaf blower, and just have it as one long track. And if it comes and goes and there's nothing that we can do about it, we've got that soundtrack there. But if it's in a room that's got maybe a slight little hum or a bit of distant traffic or just
Space or something.
Well, yeah, we try and get rid of them. We try and switch the clock off because that drives you nuts. Is to try and get the ambience of the room and the acoustics of the room. That's really, really useful. So that way you can, in editing, you can actually make spaces of the dialogue just for motivational purposes, to create tension or whatever. When somebody says something and then you cut to the other person, he's just not answering, and it's because you want to extend it, but somebody was talking over it or whatever. We can use that background fill track. Yeah. Now the other thing is that we try and do for drama anyway is to quieten the footfall. We try not to have too much footstep sounds, because when you get people walking and talking, for example, and you want to cut, is this still our guy? Oh my God. Sorry, yeah. I thought he said he was finished.
He's in shot, so it's all right.
Yeah, good. So footfall. Yeah, it's very difficult to cut the rhythm of walking if the feet are not in sync, if you know what I mean. If the two people are walking, clippy-clop, clippy-clop, and then you cut to the other one, that creates problems, particularly if they're talking at the same time. And so that's why we try and put padding under the shoes, or if it's out of shot, we run carpet runners and that kind of thing.
How much do you have to talk to wardrobe and who's kind of your best friend on set?
Everybody's our best friend, from electrics to grips to costume to art department. The next few jobs I'm going to be doing is to coordinate. We've already done a little bit with. I've had meetings with the director on a film later in the year about being able to have one of my little mics out actually in shot and VFX it out, so to delete it from shot. And that's a big ask, because it's expensive and time consuming, although it's getting cheaper and cheaper to do, especially if there are visual effects within the shot anyway. But it's essential, because the person may not be wearing anything from the waist up, waist up, yeah. So and then costume, we go and we speak to them about what materials they're using, and they give us a demonstration. Sometimes we can sew in things. Do you want to have a little break and let this guy go, or is it about... He's nearly gone. So sometimes we have... we can sew in costume, our little lapels, but they're quite little stitches, so it makes it easy to take them out every night, because they have to be washed, have permission to put them in certain either on the ankle, or if there's sometimes we get I can't remember what they're called. They're little bike shorts that ladies wear, and we make little pockets for them. And the other things we've got, I'll bring it over to you, is in this little box here. We've got a few belts and pouches, and this is a waist belt. I'll show you. And they've got a little thin pocket that the transmitter comes in, and got Velcro. And we've got different sizes of those. Thanks, mate. And also we've got ones that go into the ankle. They're smaller ones. There's ones that go in the thigh here. And ankles are really good. Guys love them in the ankles, so it's just easy, and they forget that they're there. Depends on the costume, really, and we try and get the smallest packs we can for, if it's a slimline outfit and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's important to have all these little things already ready to go. Thanks, mate. Yeah, so Sue, Sue Kerr, our boom operator, she uses a lot of different tricks, and then she will go and spend a day or two with the costume department early on. Depends how big the film is and how much wardrobe and how big the cast is, etc., and how different whether it's period and it's got lots of frills, all that kind of stuff. So that's wardrobe. Production design, then it's what kind of flooring is there. Is it a raised floor? And a lot of the times, for example, I didn't do the film, I did the pre-production on Hacksaw Ridge, and there was a couple of sets that had steps going up to them, so therefore the whole of the interior was raised about this high. And so I spoke to the construction manager, and with approval from production, we were able to get a lot of pink bats and whatever we could find, and just filled the area down underneath, and made sure that the joins, before they put the timber on, they had some rubber underneath as well for suspension, and it sounded realistic. So that was otherwise it sounds like you're walking on a drum, so yeah. And of course we try and put carpet on when we don't see it, and like I said, footfall stuff under the heels of the shoes, etc. So what materials? Sometimes they have foam and that kind of stuff, and the sets, for example, do they have walls that separate? Because oftentimes it's really handy, even if it's a 4-wall set, it's handy to move a little bit of the one wall that we don't see, so we can get the boom in and the camera and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to know early on whether those facilities are available. Otherwise, it's quite difficult to shoot on a 4-wall set if the camera's close up against a corner, and then the boom can't go any further back to have any chance of getting it. Usually we go on top of ladders and things like that, but we try and avoid that. Yeah. And electrics, of course. Electrics on big sound stages. Now they've got whole rooms now that they put all the dimmer racks, because a lot of the modern lighting these days have got dimmer racks and things, and they can hum. You were asking before what can I do about salt, for example.
Yeah, I was just thinking, but your worst enemies are the...
worst enemies. So dead calm's a good example. We were based at Hamilton Island for 5 months, 1987, and we would get on a cat at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was an hour trip to Butterfly Bay, which was near Hayman Island, and so we could see I think it was 200 degrees of ocean without seeing landfall. And so the first half hour we had breakfast, and the second half hour we kitted up and got ready, and then we went out onto a barge, and then either from the barge we filmed on 2 different boats. On the way back, we cleaned the gear. But one basic trick that I got, which is very expensive, and I don't think everybody can afford it, is a plastic bag. And that's basically, imagine it was a Nagra in those days with, I can't remember it was a stereo, I had a stereo Nagra and a mono Nagra on that thing. Dolby A. I think there was a little plate underneath it that encoded Dolby A into it, and it was great for the stillness, because a lot of the times there was hardly any. Anyway, so yeah, plastic bag, obviously a bag that gets you, free of dust as much as possible. And this is a similar venue field, it's called. It's a similar but smaller version of the rack-mounted stuff. That's another 788, but it's heavy as. I've got a little trolley that I stand it on these days, but it's good because it works with an MP1 battery here, and I can put an MP1 battery for all the other ancillary things. But yeah, so we had to clean all the cables, and I cleaned the Nagra stripped it all down, cleaned it every night on the way back. And the same with Fury Road. We had a couple of guys staying back for an hour or so to clean the gear. Fortunately, I was inside a little air-conditioned van, and most of the gear was okay in there. There was a little Mackie 16-channel mixer that copped a bit every time we opened the door, but otherwise we were pretty good. And the mics, we went through a few of the little lapel mics that we hid everywhere, but otherwise we did pretty well. So you just have to be diligent and vigilant. Vigilant. Same thing. There's, I try and I did a film called Newcastle a few years back, and half of it was surfing, and the camera was a water camera with water housing, and we were in Newcastle. So I was in the back of a ute with my little trolley and big antennas, and my boom operator had a 416 and a mount, and I've got hog's hair and a hog's hair gag on top of that as well. So we could get, if there were splashes and things like that, we could get that and shake it and put it back on. And for rain sequences, the hog's hair was fantastic because it stops the sound of the rain hitting the microphone, that kind of thing. But on that, he went out with the camera on a little, with a small pole and a little floaty. The cameraman had a floaty as well. That was the best. We tried to do jet ski and all that kind of stuff, but when you switch off the motors, everybody just floats away, So so that was the best option, and we were able to boom the people. And I had waterproof transmitters. Electrosonics make them. The double M series they were. I don't know what they're called now. And so I had a special little adapter that those transmitters could power. I had an external powering, like 9-volt thing for the microphone, and which turned it to 12 volts, and it worked fine. But I lost one of those mics. It was like a 6 to 8 foot set came through, and the poor guy was stuck, and busted a boom pole and drowned the microphone. But that's about the only casualty I've had, I suppose, for 40 years. So that's not too bad. Yeah, there was a chopper sequence on a film of the Atherton Tablelands one time where we went to lunch, and a chopper came and parked there where all the crew had their equipment, and a few things went flying, but it was okay. Yeah.
Is it? What do you think about how these? It must be really gratifying, obviously, to win awards and enjoy, I guess, sort of the accolades of your peers. But do you ever sort of wonder about how one project wins an award over another? Is it?
Yes, of course.
With Fury Road, I don't think anybody would begrudge you that award. But is it? Do you think it was all just about level of difficulty, or is what are the other?
Oh, it's quality of sound and also ingenuity. The guy, embarrassingly, I can't remember his name, but for that film 1917, it was really a worthy Oscar because they really thought it through. The director wanted to have extremely long runs of dialogue over hundreds of meters. And he had to work out how to actually capture that to start with. And then they came up with the idea, apart from radio miking main cast, they had, the boom operators had an MS rig on their booms. So, a hypercardioid and a figure of 8. So they could transmit with 2 transmitters. And that way, because there were so many sound effects that were fantastic, with all the soldiers walking through the trenches, all different perspectives, and walking right to left and left to right, and following them behind and following them, leading them from the front. It was an amazing feat that they did. It gave you the essence of where they were and what it felt like in sound, and I thought it was fantastic, and quality-wise, it was really beautiful quality. And also, he had the presence of mind of actually getting dry runs without the camera to do all that action without the dialogue as well. Where, can you imagine the amount of Foley that, of course they did Foley on top of it, but it was really a great job. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and oftentimes if it's a musical or something like that, people get awards, but there's a lot of work that goes in doing musical shows as well.
And would you, in general, prefer, like when you look back at your career, are there films where sound was obviously more of a priority, and one of the stars of the movie, just, I guess, the mechanics of capturing the high quality?
Yeah, I think one comes to mind again is and it also encompasses talking to all different departments, is Lorenzo's Oil. I was in Australia and they were building sets, and they wanted to build a house near across the road from a school, and across the road from the school, and they wanted to know if in the school there was a basketball court, and they wanted to build a couple of sets in there because it was a school that wasn't being used anymore. And so I talked to the production designer and art director, and came with the idea of making false walls with felt, and they put timber frames and put felt, really half-inch thick felt all around the set, and they surveyed it and they saw that the roof was okay. It was the old-fashioned things with the little pinholes in it, and so it absorbed sound, and we're able to utilise that instead of a really echoey space. And when they built the house, they also built 2 stories, but we only ever filmed inside the ground floor, and there were stairs going up to supposedly the second floor, but we knew that the DP, John Seal, was going to be able to utilise pulling fragments of the ceiling off and having lights at any given time. And I knew that if it was a space above that, then that again would cause reverberance. And we organised a cloud of Sonex to on a pulley system to come above the lights. So because George Miller said to everybody that this is a priority, that sound is a priority, and do whatever we can to make sure we retain 100% sync dialogue.
And often it's not about throwing lots of money at it, it's just about being involved in those early conversations.
Exactly, yeah. I think this is probably enough. We'll just have a quick thing on the aerials. Okay, you want to start on one of those? No, I can.
All yours.
Okay, so these are the you okay?
Yep.
These are the Whizzycom Aerials. I don't know if you can see that. I might bring it down to you. How's that? And they have the ability. I've actually made EQ'd out certain frequencies, so I can run from 520 to 663. Anything above 663 and below 520 is going to be chopped down. And what that means is that I can have certain other transmitters near my cart. And for example, this one here, which says private line, is active at the moment. And it's very close to this receiver aerial antenna. So it allows me to integrate a lot of frequencies, and they're
so what were you doing previous to that?
Well, what I had to do was get the transmitters either receivers either really high away from these, or get them on stands and 20 or 30 meters away from my cart. So not only do I get closer to the action, but away from the other transmitters that are here. So. And I can give you a little quick demo of the van. Okay. You ready to climb up? Here we go. We're going up. And I'll put the lights on before you come in, Jack. I don't know how much difference that's going to make. There we go. They're on. Excuse the mess again. I had everything out here. All right, so I don't know if you can look behind on your left. Yeah, you can come back. These are, I keep the looms for interfacing with, you're good on you. We're interfacing with video split. There's multi-cores here and more video cables, power, long mic cables. Batteries in little Pelican cases. There, I've just got a couple other microphones and toolkits and things like that. A spare little Mackie mixer here, Sennheiser. I've got noise cancelling headphones. Couple of directors like using those, and there's one director I got this Bluetooth transmitters for. He wanted just his little Bluetooth headphones to do it. That's another story because it has a bit of lag. Just by the time you go to Bluetooth, then it could be slightly out of sync. But it didn't bother him. He just wanted to have the freedom. Now I'll let you come down here, Jack.
Yep.
And I'll get you to come from the side. You ready to come down?
Yep.
Here we go. Jack's leaving.
Camera's left it.
I'm going to do a long shot from back there while I set this up. Howdy. Right. I'll get this out of here. Phonak. There you go. All right. So I'll just put a couple of things away here. So this is a blessing, this van. I love it because you can obviously stand up in it and I'll put a few things away here. Okay, so I've got lots of adapter things. That's the audio limited radio mics here. Little onset pouches. You know, you've seen guys that, girls that have got those pouches in the front. You can add lots of stuff. It's really handy for when you're on a busy set and you can't hang stuff on the side because you trip over. Lots of chargers, adapters. You can't have enough adapters. 4-pin XLR and jug plugs and DC stuff. Little mini magic arms, spigots, labeler, time extra lockets for time code, MP1 batteries. There's 2 more. What are they called? Slates. There's another slate, an ambient slate there, and there's another ambient slate there, and a Deneki at the back. So a couple of monitors, lots of bits and pieces that you don't take out on set all the time, but you know, it's like my little mobile storeroom. You know what I mean? And the speaker, the Bose speaker that I had out there, there's another spare one of those there. Another speaker here, another little tiny speaker amp. They're all speaker amps. They're all battery operated as well, so you can run and gun and take it on set and that kind of thing. The Shep's microphones, more DPA headset mics, and different sort of mics that you place in cars and that kind of thing, you know. So yeah, it's, and again, more another big case of adapters, and some Sennheisers and Neumann KMR81, that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, the big trolley comes in here, the one that I showed you with all the equipment in it, and the mixer, etc., that gets strapped into here, and the other, the little one goes into this little spot here, and the big follow cart goes to the back. Now, depending on what the show is, it'll if I've got a big playback thing, I've got another trolley with a Mackie mixer and power amp and all that kind of, and big speakers and that kind of stuff that are passive speakers. So I can't carry all that, but on some films I've had a truck. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is us, mate. Yeah.
Thanks for your time and for Jack's time, for Michael's time, for everybody's assistance. So yeah, it's been a big effort, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure
it's our pleasure.
Well. Yeah, thank you very much.
Our pleasure entirely. Thanks, mate.
Good luck.
And we'll talk soon, eh?
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
We'll go and shut it down.
All right.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.